situations where we showed exactly not what's best to do versus some improvements that could be made. And something is, if a patient is in a wheelchair, you shouldn't lean on the wheelchair or touch someone's equipment. I use crutches, and we talk about how that adaptive equipment becomes a part of that person's body. And so just as before we know each other, we're not going to hug or be in somebody's personal space. It's the same as with their equipment. They can get kind of territorial of it. So that's one example that I can give.
In the language, you don't say a guy in a wheelchair. You use their name. Because you're treating the patient, not the wheelchair.
Right. Sure.
Right.
Yep, exactly. And talking about other specific disabilities, if you, for instance, had a patient that had a vision impairment or blindness, what steps could be taken in doing education with them as they're leaving? Because oftentimes maybe a form would be handed to them and they would be told, okay, just go over this when you get home and call me with any questions. Have you run into situations like that, or think of other ways to get that education across to them?
Personally, I haven't had anybody has been blind or not able to see very well. And thinking about a patient like that, though, if I had someone come into my office that was very mobile and could get around and but just was couldn't see, they would probably have to have an assistant at least read to them. I don't know if, at least in my office, I don't have health history forms, in Braille or anything like that. But if they had someone that they could help, read the questions to and answer to. Or we could too, as providers.
Yeah, if you have the time. Our center, Access to Independence, we do Braille services also, and can put forms like that into Braille. Another option is some people have the technology of, many of them use computers and emails, and they have voice readers to them also, because there are people that live independently. In this case, getting to your clinic, they could maybe take the public transportation, but they would often have a driver and have somebody to read to them. But yeah, just needing to accommodate to somebody like that.
Have either one of you come across a person who has a hearing impairment? And what would your approach be?
In my case, yes, I had patients who have hearing impairments of varying degrees. Some people you just have to talk louder to and slower. Some you have to, allow time to help, read, and they can. A lot of them can point or interact. Visual aids are a very good thing to use to help people understand what treatment we're going to do today, what they can expect, and so we get away. Use a lot of visual aids with people like that.
I've found that in a situation like the University of Iowa, if necessary, making sure that someone's there with the capability to do American Sign if that's what's required, make sure that the hospital is aware and can provide that resource if it's appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then just another topic to discuss is, and we've said this before, is keeping the patient the main focus of the treatment and seeing them as a patient and not just their disability, and oftentimes not even primarily their disability. Both Keith and I might come into a clinic and with a cough or something, and if the provider just wants to only talk about my mobility issues, or if I'm having pain after my amputation or something, I might be thinking, well, that's not why I'm here, and I'm more than just my legs or my lack of leg or something. Keith, have you had any experience like that where it seems to just be focused on
where they
disability?
want to talk about the disability, and I do have a legitimate problem. It can get wearisome sometimes to remind the doctor it's not the disability, it's the ailment I came to see you for.
Right. I had a experience that kind of reminded me of that one time. My wife and I were on vacation out of the country, and she was 7 months pregnant and got a really bad toothache and needed a root canal. And every time we went to the clinic, they kept trying to send us to labor and delivery. And I think that kind of opened my eyes to,
It really does.
don't focus on what may be obvious. The patient, we were trying to tell them she needed treatment for her teeth, but nobody was listening every time we'd go somewhere. So I can understand how that would be a hurdle quite often when you'd visit a clinic.
Yeah, that's a great example. And because with somebody with an obvious physical disability, that is what you see first probably, and it might be easy to just end up focusing on that, but there are often other parts going on behind that.
And I also think it's up to us to be upfront with the doctor, know what medication we're taking, how often, and just not in general, but zeroing in what is bothering me, instead of going around and around in circles.
Right.
And then just, I don't know if you have any experience with making referrals if somebody is having, besides just a physical issue, but maybe emotional or even a social issue that goes along with their disability. But would you have any idea of where to possibly send somebody or anything if you just happen to stumble upon that, if somebody is in with a toothache or something and it kind of comes out that, well, I haven't been able to be getting around very well and getting out to, see any friends, or I've lost my friends or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, for instance, Access to Independence here that we work for, we could direct and make referrals. Also, Compass at the Center for Disease and Development, Disability and Development, CDD, make a lot of referrals and try to address a bunch of issues like that too. So that's just talking about the whole team again.
Right. And I think there's many national patient advocacy groups that you can find online would be a good place to start. And they'd help you find local organizations as well.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Any closing remarks, Keith? Or?
I'd just like to thank you two for coming tonight and being so forthright with how you feel, but how you're learning to cope and deal with disability. It's good to know that.
Exactly, because we're becoming a larger group every day. We're becoming, I believe, more vocal and maybe demanding, it seems, but just basically asking for the same treatment as other people.
More visible.
More visible,
Right.
for sure.
Right.
And we appreciate working as a team with our medical team included in that. So, yeah, thanks
you.
a lot for
Thank
being
you.
here this
Thanks for
evening.
having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.